What were the circumstances of you being separated? What happened?
Yes, it was well, it was 60 odd years ago. My mum, she married in 1940, divorced. Then she had Christine and myself out of marriage, as they say. Then she remarried. But I only remember staying with my grandparents and Christine as well. Then later on, that particular marriage, that broke down as well. I mean, we found out why, you know, since then. And of course, that marriage produced another 2 children.
Yeah, that's right.
John and Noreen. But I didn't know them really, because they had stayed with their father all the while.
Well, this all came out much later on, because initially
yeah.
at that moment with that clip that we'd just seen, you hadn't seen your sister there for 6 decades it was, because she'd stayed with your grandparents, she'd gone into a child's home, and you'd stayed with your mother, never really talked about what had happened to your sister, the questions were never asked, and you just sort of, your whole life had gone through waiting and not knowing. Didn't even know about these other siblings at this point, so that moment was incredible for you.
Yes, I mean, I remember up to the age of 6, and Christine was with me until then. I remember that, so she would be about 4. We went to school together, I remember that as well. And then all of a sudden...
Nothing.
No.
Yeah, really tough. It leaves a hole in your life, doesn't it, I imagine? Yeah.
And Christine, as we said, is in New Zealand. Hiya, Christine. Hope you can hear us now this time. And what was the first you were aware of that? Hold on a second. You know, this is a bigger family than I thought.
Well, I always knew that I remembered Ron, so I knew I had an older brother, and I always knew I had a younger sister. Because she was in the home with me for a while, so I knew that there were 3 of us, definitely.
And your adopted mother also said to you at one point, she apologised for the fact that she couldn't adopt both you and your little sister to keep you together, because it wasn't something they were able to do at the time. And there was also this doll as well that you were given. And what was the doll's name?
When I had a birthday soon after I was adopted, and I was given a doll, and they asked me what would I name the doll, what would I call it, and apparently I said Elined straight away, which was how I knew Noreen.
Yeah.
Elined, and so yes,
that was her middle name.
And what about? What about John? When did you find out about John?
I didn't find out about John until I met Ron. In 2015.
And so for you,
yes, he knew it.
Yeah,
he knew John.
And for you, this extended family.
Yes, I always knew from an early age that there were 4 of us altogether.
Yeah.
I knew Christine was the next one down. I didn't know, you know, who were the others, the youngest of the other 2, but I knew there was John. I called him Wayne. My mum called him Wayne. What's his middle name? And Elined, which is Noreen. We knew them just as their middle names, really. So my mum always spoke about them.
So they were the final missing part of this puzzle, and that's the beauty of this show.
Joining us all the way from down under is Ron and Christine's half-sister, Noreen. So welcome to you, Noreen.
Thank you.
And how lovely to see it. How did that moment feel? The moment that after all of those years, and a family that's spread all over the place, because you're in Australia, we've got Christine in New Zealand, John was in New Zealand, Ron is in the UK. How did that feel to get you all together?
Oh, it was just fantastic. I just can't explain how I felt. There was so much emotion going on. It was mind-boggling, really.
And what about you?
Yeah.
How aware were you of the rest of the family?
Oh, I only ever knew my brother John.
And so that must come as a hell of a shock when you realise that it's extended. And not only that, then you've got their children and their grandchildren. I mean, it gets bigger and bigger.
I know. It's just wonderful. And it was wonderful to meet them, and it was just fantastic.
And that is a whole lifetime to catch up on. And for you and your brother John as well, a troubling start in life for you. Also, you said you missed out on a childhood, really.
Well, I believe we did. It was tough in Leighton, in London, and things were tough, yes. So I think we missed out being children, yeah.
Yeah, I think John says it was a particularly, for you two, sadly, a very tough upbringing.